I essentially serve as the hands of the community, and Brad in that mayor role, he's the face.
The relationship with the city manager who's running the day-to-day in any city is really important.
My master's in public administration that, be very honest with you, didn't prepare me for the day-to-day. And it's figuring out how to provide those wants with a cost-effective approach. That's good government.
Welcome to Leading Iowa, Good Government in Iowa Cities. I'm your host, Dave Martin. With me, as always, is my co-host, the Mayor of Dubuque and the President of the Iowa League of Cities, Brad Cavanagh. Brad, good to see you again.
Dave, good to be here as always.
As always. And so who are we talking to today?
Today we have Travis Goedken of Decorah, Iowa.
Travis Goedken of Decorah, Iowa. And unfortunately, this is a podcast, so we can't see one of his many flashy suits he usually wears. So I'm
a little disappointed he's not wearing one.
A loss for us all.
We'll talk about that later, Travis.
Yes.
We're between the candy cane suit and the shamrock suit. So
you've got one for each. Excellent. And we should also note that Travis Goedken, the city manager at Decorah, is also the recent host of Iowa League of Cities Family Feud, coming after his very successful turn first as the host of Family Feud. So these are games that you play, and somehow you've gotten to be the host of these shows, right?
Yeah, I'd like to think it's my personality, my charisma.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's the flashy suit. I don't know.
All right. Is it fun to have all those city officials there and make them look silly?
Yeah, we have a good time. It's certainly educational as well, and that's really the focus, is to try and make educating our local government officials much more entertaining.
Well, I was at Hollywood Squares, and it was standing room only crowd, and you certainly had a lot of fans there working for you. So we want to talk a little bit about good government in Decorah. I will start. I understand that one of the things that you've doing this year is you've set some priorities for housing, and you're trying to improve the housing conditions in Decorah. Tell me how that's going, and tell me what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, housing, just like everyone else across the state of Iowa and pretty much the country at this point, affordable housing is a huge priority for Decorah here. But we've got a few unique challenges where some of the rest of the state isn't necessarily seeing. One of which is any listeners outside of the state right now, you're picturing Iowa, you're thinking I'm looking out my window, seeing cornfields or soybeans, and as far as the eye can see. Well, actually in Decorah here, I'm looking out my window and I see a limestone bluff with a river that's cut that bluff to about 200 feet in elevation or so. We've got some pretty interesting topography here that most people wouldn't realize. And so even development of infrastructure to try and create additional housing, we're looking at $75,000, $80,000 per lot in infrastructure costs alone because of our topography up here.
So that must make it much harder to build things.
Absolutely. And when it comes to especially the affordable housing market, you've got to recover that investment in the infrastructure in your lot sale. So if you're selling your lot for at cost of $80,000, you're not getting a lot of equity in a $200,000, $250,000 home that you're able to absorb that lot cost. So most of the new construction we see here, it's in that 500,000 plus range. And we still prioritize new construction as well, because any additional housing here in Decorah eases the more affordable markets as well.
So you're a city manager. We haven't had a chance to talk to many city managers. Mr. Mayor, how do you get along with your city manager? And what's something you always wanted to ask him that you never quite could, that you could ask someone who doesn't really work for you?
Well, that's a new one now that you've thrown at me.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, no, because I get along really well with my city manager. We actually have a great relationship, but I think it's a key relationship. It really is. I mean, that's one of the things that you need to be able to have, and hopefully it's with all or most council members. But I think that the relationship with the city manager who's running the day to day in any city is really important. Travis, how many years have you been doing this?
Oh, better part of 10 years. I think I'm on 11 or 12 at this point.
All right. And it's been in Decorah the entire time?
No, no, no. Prior to that, I was over in Humboldt, Iowa, and so that's where I cut my teeth here in the state of Iowa. Even did a short stint down in Kansas as well prior to that. So going on 3+ years here in Decorah now.
Okay, cool. So, I guess one of the things that I've always wondered, I like to ask this question of people because I get asked a lot too, what surprises you about the role? What are some things that, you didn't quite expect that you find, most surprising or, most enlightening as you're going through your day to day?
I would say a lot of it, the day to day brings its own surprises every day. I took a career path that was heavy on the education first with my master's in public administration that, be very honest with you, didn't prepare me for the day to day.
They didn't cover that in class. Stuff like that, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of theoretical and a lot of stuff that on the big scale allows me to, or enables me to do my job better. But it really didn't prepare me for what I was going to do when an outside entity hosts a show at the fairgrounds and they've peppered the entire community and yard signs in the right of way. Things that people expect you deal with on a day-to-day basis. And every day brings a new and interesting development, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that has always been interesting to me about city government. And I watch, our city manager and the staff that you have, go through these meetings and you're talking about one thing that's totally unrelated to the next meeting that you're going to have. In one moment you're talking about your sewer and what you're going to be doing to fix some sewer in some part of the city, and then the next thing you're talking about sidewalks, and the next thing you're talking about yard signs and challenges people have, and you're managing police and fire and all these different things. It's just such an interesting job when it comes down to it. I mean, I can't think of too many jobs where you're dealing with that many different logistics all at once in a day.
Yeah, it's truly a jack of all trades, master of none. But with that master of none, you've got to put the great staff that we have here in Decorah in place that specializes within each one of those departments. And so I would say largely my role as city manager is to serve as facilitator between the departments and making sure they have the resources needed to achieve the goals that the council has set. And I'd say that's the larger picture of what my role is here. Yeah, there's some nitty gritty, HR type stuff. And of course, budget preparation, which Brad, I hope hopefully you're near the end and now you're on coast. No,
we haven't even really started as a council, at least. We're going to go through our budget hearings in April. So we kind of wait till the end. The staff now is building the budget that they're going to put before us and the public. And then we're going to go and talk about those things. And in Dubuque, what we do is we have no fewer than, I think, 8 public hearings on meetings that just go for hours into the night talking about every single department and every dollar that we're going to spend. So I appreciate the transparency of the process, but it is a heavy lift.
That it is, and that is one of the reasons we started a little early here in Decorah. Our first public budget work sessions start in January, and as Brad pointed out, this process doesn't culminate until April. But it takes that long for us to prepare the budget as well as publicly present it to the council and the public as well. And so that they can weigh in, staff has time to respond to those comments. If council says we want to change direction, that's our role. So
Mayor, are you taking notes and thinking maybe I'll start the budget process a little earlier now? And
No, so it's been interesting in the state of Iowa because the budget process seems to change every year based on the legislature and the new rules that they've created. So it's a bit of it's a bit of a moving target still. Mm-hmm. So the legislature is creating lots of new rules. And when I talk to other city administrators, city managers, and other mayors across the state, we all kind of have the same feeling about it. We just kind of need to know when we can do it, and we just hope we get enough time to get it done because it's challenging, and actually it brings up a question, Travis, because this is something that I wonder about a city manager. As mayor, I don't get to just dictate things and say, like, this is what we're going to do. I mean, I have to go with what the council says, but the council does get to just dictate things. So we, as a city council, we can change course. We can come up with new ideas. And sometimes those ideas are in keeping with what's already going on in the city. And sometimes they're new and different. What is that like in your role? If you're working on one thing, your staff's working on one thing, and then all of a sudden you have to change course, because you have this new edict that comes from the council and the public. What is that like?
Well, and that's something we can deal with on every 2 years. You get this in 9 months, I'll have 3 council seats and the mayor up for reelection, and who knows if they'll seek reelection. So we shift on a fair regular, and that's why we set those council goals and priorities on an annual basis. We have a facilitator come in after the November elections so that the sitting council, as well as anybody coming on, can participate in that goal setting session. Having that overlap in that goal setting during that short window gives staff some ability to kind of read the room, essentially, on what is going to be the future priorities of council. And that gives us the ability to then prepare a budget that hopefully doesn't have a lot of redirection as a result. That's our process to try and head off any changes at the past. But when they happen, as you pointed out earlier, Brad, the state legislature, 2 years ago, there was a bill that was adopted that resulted in a change in our assessment limitation, or what we call the residential rollback, that multifamily homes weren't part of that calculation. And when it was discovered, many cities were well into the budgeting process.
Yeah.
Some, I think, had even adopted their budgets.
Yeah.
And so we had to go back to the drawing board and cut well over $100,000 out of, I know for some communities, finding $100,000 is, it's still tricky, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have as large of an impact. Well, for Decorah, that resulted in reduction in staff at the library and other services that we were able to provide as a result. So that was a unique shift, but it really takes all the departments to come together and make that happen.
Yeah.
Before we get too far away from this, I want to ask you something. Not many probably know kids in high school right now, when you say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Say, I want to be a city manager.
Oh, God, no, don't. I'm kidding.
What's the path? I mean, what drew you to it, and how would you inspire other people to become city managers?
Well, Brad will probably laugh at this. I was an undergrad at the University of Iowa that had aspirations of law school, but I also wanted to serve as the mayor of Pleasantville. Now, there is a Pleasantville, Iowa, but I was referring to, the movie Pleasantville, right?
Yeah.
And I had the chair of the political science department pull me aside after a class one day and say, have you ever heard of public administration? Okay. No, what's that? Well, I think you'd be a great fit for it. He explained to me that I essentially serve as the hands of the community, and Brad, in that mayor role, he's the face. That's a good thing. Okay. You want his face, not mine.
All right.
And, but my role is to carry out what those goals and priorities are. And so I thought at the time, law school, being a lawyer, all those long nights and hours, I don't know that that's really the right fit for me. I'm a family guy. I want to, spend time with my kids. So I'm going to pursue this, cush public sector role, right?
Cush, right? Okay.
Yeah, boy, was I wrong. You try and call the city attorney, not here, not in Decorah, but you try and call the city attorney on a Thursday afternoon, you get reminded it's men's league golf day, Travis. You can't talk to him today.
Oh.
And then
there's not a city managers golf league.
Yeah, I think we get out maybe once a year, twice a year.
Yeah, that's why they're such terrible golfers. Never get a chance to get out and do it.
This is true.
So you're on the golf course saying, "Now the city manager's got that under control." Let's play the back nine now. I want to ask you about something. I saw that in your recent, look forward for 2025. You downgraded the Central Business District from a high priority to a medium priority. I gather that means the Central Business District is perfect. Everything's great. All problems are solved.
Well, I'd like to think we've reached that point, but we never do.
Okay.
We never get to perfect, and there's always something to work on. That's why it's medium priority.
What's going on in downtown Decorah?
Not low. Well, the council had, for the last 2 years, we wanted to see additional economic development programs within the downtown district, maybe even changes to our code of ordinances that would allow for easier development. So that was really our target for the last 2-3 years, even on trying to make it easier and more cost effective to redevelop the downtown district. You heard me before talking about the cost of new construction on a residential side.
Right.
You start looking at historic downtowns and the redevelopment associated with those costs are astronomical as well. That's why you see so many downtowns across rural U.S., not just rural Iowa, where you struggle to see reinvestment in the downtown district because it's very costly.
But you've been somewhat successful, it sounds like.
Yeah, we actually have launched some new programs, including a new downtown economic development grant program where projects can be eligible for up to $25,000 for upper story residential, either creation or restoration. Maybe has sat vacant for 20 years and doesn't comply with building codes, so you can be eligible for that. We've got a facade restoration program. That's another $10,000 that you'd be eligible for. We've got urban revitalization area within the C3 district and some overlap with an urban renewal. So depending on the area, you can be eligible for tax abatement or rebate.
So the show is called Leading Iowa, Good Government in Iowa Cities. This does sound like good government. Have a lot of people taken advantage of this? We
have. Actually, this last round that was awarded just a few months ago was nearly $140,000 in grants for that downtown economic development grant program, and actively working on 2 projects that we're looking at potentially layering both abatement and rebate to create a significant investment in our downtown.
Okay. So I've heard about Mabe's Pizza. Is that downtown?
That it is.
Oh, all right, good. So how's that going? Is that the best pizza in Decorah?
It is the best pizza in Decorah. And, trying to get in there on a Friday or Saturday night around supper time. Nobody has a parking problem.
Okay.
I want to be clear about that. You just got to walk a little further.
All right.
Not a parking problem. It's a good problem to have, right?
Well, after a good meal, you want to walk it off a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
In Decorah, do you feel like a college town? I mean, Luther College is there, and it's a big part of the community, right? And most of the main reason I know about Mabe's Pizza is because of friends that went to Luther and always talk about it. So is it kind of a college town feel?
It's got a little bit of that. Actually, it was very much at the forefront when my wife and I went out for Valentine's Day, and we thought, before we go home, we'll grab a nightcap at Impact Coffee. They have live music tonight, and we went in and sat down, and then we started to see 20-year-olds, and we started to feel actually fairly old. And it started to come to us that, maybe we'll stick around for a little bit, but it's almost our bedtime. We got to get going.
An early Valentine's Day.
There are moments and pockets of it, but up here in Decorah with Luther College, which has been a great partner as of late. We have a little bit of geographic separation just because they are on the very edge of Decorah.
Yeah.
And historically, that collaboration hasn't always been there. And so that's really something we've built on that relationship over the past few years to create a better connection between the community and the college.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, because I did a little bit of research about Decorah. I haven't been to your town yet, sorry to say, but I read about the Seed Savers Exchange, 50 years old. This sounds like something that's been around for a while and does good work. What are they? They're a botanical organization that preserves seeds and flowers and plants, correct?
Correct. Yep. Their primary focus is making sure they maintain a lot of heirloom varieties of plants. And if you go out and visit the site, they have a nice little trout stream that even runs through it.
Okay.
And, actually, I did say trout stream, and you heard me right.
I did.
Here in Decorah, we have one of the little hidden gems for trout fishing, and you can do that at Seed Savers. You can see all kinds of, when I say heirloom vegetables, I mean, they're not just tasteful, they're beautiful. I mean, they're amazing.
Okay.
You name it. And they try and preserve it.
And Decorah has ice caves.
Yes, so we do have ice cave here in Decorah, which it's a rock outcropping that has a cave formation inside it. It doesn't run too terribly deep. At least my frame's not getting too terribly deep in it.
All right. I'm with you, brother.
Yep. But it's named ice cave because our topography up here, our geology up here has some unique features about it where we'll have algific slopes, I think is how you pronounce it.
Okay.
Never heard that one.
Where it's...
But the ice stays in the cave like year round, right?
It used to be year round. There might be some, climate change that's maybe reduced that a little bit.
Okay.
So, but consistently 40 degree, 50 degree temperatures. Yep.
All right. So we've talked.
I have one more, Dave. I got to ask about something because I know we want to get to our questions we like to ask everybody, but there's something in Decorah we got to talk about. I have friends who live in Kansas City and they will drive from Kansas City all the way up to Decorah in a day when there's a release of something. So you got to talk about why would anybody from Missouri want to drive up to Decorah for a day?
Yeah. One of the other things that Decorah is very well known for, and this is probably what we're known for most outside the state of Iowa, is our beer. We have a few great breweries here in town. Toppling Goliath is the brewery most are familiar with because its distribution is, I believe it's 38 states and international. We also have a great craft brewery that some argue is better than Toppling Goliath with Pulpit Rock Brewing. And on any given special release day, we do have a Decorah Municipal Airport that will see people fly from not just a Kansas City area. We have seen from Florida, from Tennessee, from California. Even international.
Wow.
There has historically
really
been an
beer.
individual from South Korea that has made it to a few Toppling Goliath releases, and it is a huge, huge draw for us here.
That is incredible.
Let me know if anyone's flying in from Brooklyn. I'll jump on a plane, okay? So
we're going to get you on a full Iowa tour here, Dave.
Yeah,
You're coming in someday.
We've all met up in Sioux City, but there's more Iowa in my future. All right. So other than beer, other than ice caves, other than the seed exchange, other than Mabe's Pizza, what makes Decorah a real Iowa city?
Ooh, a real Iowa city. It's got to be the community itself. My wife and I, when we first moved here, which is the role of, public administration, you got to go where the job is at. And my previous post, Humboldt, it was a great opportunity for myself professionally and personally as well. We built some great friendships over there in Humboldt. We relocated over here because of what Decorah has to offer, but also some proximity to family as well. We didn't expect to see quite the welcoming that, and I don't know why we didn't really expect it. Maybe it's just everyone's general disdain for government, right? But
no, that can't be it. There's no such thing as that.
Yeah. But this community is so welcoming. We have a fantastic neighborhood that we had an impromptu, just kind of ordered pizza and had a bonfire with 4 different neighbors just gathering in our driveway one night. It's kids playing constantly outside with each other.
We're going to skip over the bonfire and the driveway part. We'll just keep going.
Yeah. Well, it's I was more than 10 feet away from a structure. I was fine.
Okay. All right.
No, that is a super Iowa thing. I mean, what you just said right there is just so very Iowa, and I can totally feel it. There's so many places like that throughout the state.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about what government looks like, and this show is Leading Iowa, Good Government in Iowa Cities. What does good government look like in Decorah?
I would say good government is a government that our residents want, and that's largely our role, is providing what our residents want and need. Of course, needs just a given at this point, but what they want that the private sector isn't willing to provide. One of the things we're well known for within the region is our beautiful park system. Our natural parks, we have 660 acres of parkland. Wow. Currently working on and plan to put out a plan set for 5.3 miles of mountain biking trails here in Decorah. Those are not going to see any private investment with an expectation of return, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to build that from the private sector. So that's our role for government, is providing what the residents need, of course: police protection, fire protection, quality drinking water, taking care of after they're done with that water, and streets. Mm-hmm. Now it's the want, and it's figuring out how to provide those wants with a cost-effective approach. That's good government.
Yeah.
So we've talked about a lot of the things that you've done in Decorah in your time there. What are you really proud of? What's something that you really pushed through, that you were able to get your hands around, that you're proud of?
Well, it's still an ongoing project as a whole. But
as every government project is. Yeah,
for 15, 20 years or so, this community has struggled with an aging elementary school, that trying to find a new home, and I'm going to use a bit of air quotes here, new home for a new elementary school to replace the existing. And again, for better part of those 15 years, the conversation all focused on land right next to the existing that was owned by the city, that currently housed tennis courts and a baseball diamond.
Okay.
And trying to, given our topography, again, space to fit a baseball diamond that's relatively flat up here in Decorah is extremely difficult. And so we were able to work with advertised land sale on the edge of town, purchase that property, and turn around and sell the existing city land to the school for enough that we were able to afford the additional acres on the edge of town and give us a jump start on the construction of new ball diamonds out on the edge of town, and allowing the elementary school project to finally advance after, like I said, better part of 15 years in this community. And so this summer we're set to build those baseball fields. The school, they're finalizing their plans on the new elementary school, and in a year, Decorah is going to look a whole lot different with everything else we've got going on too.
Well, a good end to a 15-year project.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's so great when you see those puzzles come together. All right, I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot of cool places in Decorah. I've been to Decorah a few times. I've always loved it every time I've been there. What is your favorite place in Decorah, Iowa?
Do I sound corny and say my house, my home? No, we're not.
Say whatever you want.
Not if that's your favorite place.
But interestingly enough, it really is. I couldn't tell you when, even we
Have
had
you moved
a day
a fire
where
pit to the backyard at least, though?
Yeah, it hit 50 degrees here I think it was early February, end of it was end of January.
Yeah.
We hit 50 degrees, and myself, neighbor, another passerby stopped standing in the front yard having a beer while our kids were outside playing. That really is probably my favorite spot, is to be standing outside with my neighbors, our kids all having a good time and us having a good time as well.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be doing us justice if I didn't also throw out Dunning Spring as a really neat feature here in Decorah. It's actually the Iowa's tallest waterfall. So
Is that right?
yeah,
Well, there you go.
It is.
All right.
Another place
That
for
it
Dave
is.
to visit when he comes to Iowa.
All right. I will see you in Decorah or the next time you host a game show. How's that, Travis?
Deal.
All right. So thanks to Travis Goedken, the city manager of Decorah, Iowa, our guest this time on Leading Iowa, Good Government Iowa Cities. As always, Brad Cavanagh, the mayor of Dubuque and the president of the Iowa League of Cities. Always a pleasure to talk to you and learn more about Iowa.
Thanks for being here with us, Dave.
All right. Thank you. Thank you both. And we will talk again.
Thank you.
That's our show. Thanks for listening. Join us again right here for the next episode of Leading Iowa, Good Government in Iowa Cities. Make sure you like us and share us with your friends. Follow us on Facebook. Leading Iowa is a Valley Park production in association with the Iowa League of Cities. The show is executive produced by Katie Wheeler and Brad Cavanagh for the Iowa League of Cities. Jim Ludlow, Dave Martin, that's me, and David Snyder are executive producers for Valley Park Productions. Our show is edited and produced by Jason Stershic.